Welcome, dear readers. You're listening to Time to Read, a Winnipeg Public Library podcast book club. We're recording today from the Millennium Library in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, which is within Treaty 1 territory, the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Ininew, and Dakota peoples, and in the National Homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. In this episode, we will be discussing Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby. I'm Dennis from the Idea Mill, and I also do not sell wolf tickets. Across the table from me is...
I'm Toby. I'm an outreach librarian based out of here at Millennium Library, and remind me not to piss off any landscapers. And across the table from me is...
Hi, I'm Trevor from the URL Library, and I ain't selling wolf tickets when I say I needed oven mitts to read this book because it cooked.
A good book can carry me away from an average and ordinary day, yeah. So keep it down, leave me alone, close the doors and turn off the phone, 'cause all I ever really need is a little more time to read.
And you, dear readers, we couldn't do this without you. If you've got comments about what we've read or maybe some book suggestions, we'd love to hear it. You can find our email address and all our social media outlets by going to our website at wpl-podcast.winnipeg.ca and scrolling to the bottom of the page. Hang around till the end of the episode to enjoy our very self-descriptive segment, Nerd Words for Word Nerds. Before we proceed further, let's check in with the panel.
Well, first of all, I can't believe we both had wolf tickets as our intro. But
It's a pretty cool phrase.
yeah,
so,
which I had never heard before, actually. Well,
yeah.
So maybe more on that later. Oh, well, we'll see. Well,
It's okay. I planned an alternate in case someone else also went with wolf tickets.
All right. So you have to maybe stay to the end to see if, in fact, it is. But speaking of checking in, a book came in for me the other day that I must have placed on hold when it was ordered months ago. I always like when that happens, when you order a book and it's not going to come in for months and you forget about it. And then it comes in, it's almost like a birthday present. You're like, oh, look at this thing. And they're like, why would I order this? I'm like, this looks like something I'd like to read. And it's like, well, of course it's something I'd like to read because it's something I put on hold 6 months ago. So the book in question is called The Podcast Pantheon, 101 podcasts that changed how we listen. So like the title says, it's just really a collection of 101 of the sort of bedrock podcasts, according to this one author who writes a column about podcasts for Vulture, and his name is Sean Mallon. One of the weaknesses of this book is that, it's all American podcasts, but despite that, flipping through it, it's broken down into different categories. And a lot of the podcasts on this list are ones that if you are fans of podcasts, you'll probably recognize them, including like one that just wrapped up, WTF with Mark Maron, Bullseye with Jesse Thorne, Comedy Bang Bang. I'm going to all kind of like the interview and comedy ones are the ones that I listen to. But I'm sure if you are at all interested, you would probably be able to find ones. Serial, of course, is on here and its spinoffs. So it was quite I flipped through it. I haven't read the entire thing, but I think I'll discover some new podcasts to me. And I thought it's quite good. And note, before you ask, we are not in this list. But neither is the podcast that is just ocean sounds. So I feel like we won. Or if not won, we haven't lost.
We haven't lost.
Yeah.
Also, most importantly, it has an introduction by John Hamm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Winnipeg's favorite
local celebrity,
kind of pseudo temporary local celebrity who has been seen
all
out
over
and about.
Town. Yeah.
And Toby, you were saying that you know lots of people have selfies with him?
It seems like every person and every business has a picture of John Hamm at their establishment. So.
And according to the intro, John Hamm is a huge podcast fan and appeared on many in the early days.
So if I do see him, I can ask him, what podcasts are you listening to?
If you see him, you could get him to sign this book.
I'll carry it around for the next month, just in case.
And I wanted to give a little shout out. I was going over our statistics recently for the podcast. It has a nice geographic breakdown. About 30% of our listeners are in the U.S., and of those, about 12% are from Idaho, making it the state that we are the most popular in. That's more listeners than California or New York. So we know our great fan Lois is there in Idaho, and I don't know if she's just told a lot of friends or if she's just listening to a lot of our episodes and downloading them over and over again. But either way, thank you, Idaho. We appreciate it.
Also, email us. Tell us why you listen to the podcast. Do you know Lois? What's she like?
We would love to know. But yeah, WPL-podcast at winnipeg.ca if you want to drop us a line.
Any book recommendations for us to read and discuss too? We'd love to hear those.
We need to get shirts made that say we're big in Idaho.
Yeah. Anyway, with that done, let's get on to the podcast proper. So Toby is going to tell us about the author, after which Trevor will give us a summary of the book.
I'm a big fan of S.A. Cosby as a person. I don't know if... Did either of you watch any interviews with him?
No.
Oh, he just seems like a really down-to-earth, easygoing, everyday guy. Like he's not like Amor Tolles with like an Ivy League education and a Manhattan brownstone. He's a regular dude and he seems really cool. So anyway, his name is Sean Andre Cosby and he was born August 4th, 1973 in Newport News, Virginia. His father was a scallop boater on the Chesapeake Bay, and his mother was a teacher's assistant. He had a happy, pastoralish childhood and spent a lot of time reading. He dropped out of college to take care of his sick mother and worked a variety of jobs. He was a bouncer and worked in construction and eventually worked at a hardware store where he climbed the ranks to become manager. He also worked at a funeral home. He always liked to write and would do so on his work breaks. He found some small success publishing short stories. His first novel, My Darkest Prayer, was published by a small independent press after many, many rejections. His career breakthrough came at a crime writing symposium where, on a panel, he gently but firmly admonished a woman who praised the antebellum South. His reply impressed New York literary agent Josh Getzler. Getzler was able to get Cosby's second book, Blacktop Wasteland, published by Flatiron Books in 2020. It won a bunch of awards, including a Los Angeles Times Book Prize and a Dashiell Hammett Prize, which honors literary merit in crime writing. It was also chosen as a New York Times notable book. This was followed by 2021's Razorblade Tears, which debuted at number 10 on the New York Times bestseller list, won and was nominated for a bunch of awards, and was on Barack Obama's summer reading list. His bibliography also includes the thriller All the Sinners Bleed, as well as The Rhythm of Time, a middle-grade science fiction book he authored with Questlove. This year, he published King of Ashes, which was the first of a 3-book deal, and Netflix actually snagged the rights before it was even published, thanks to a bidding war won by the Obama's production company alongside Steven Spielberg, who apparently was so keen to acquire this book that he personally weighed in on negotiations. And he lives in Virginia with his wife.
Mm-hmm. And here's the summary of the book that we're about to discuss. Razorblade Tears is a gritty, fast-paced crime thriller about two fathers, Ike Randolph, a black ex-con, and Buddy Lee Jenkins, a white ex-con, who team up after their married sons are brutally murdered. Though both men struggle to accept their son's sexuality while they were alive, their shared grief and guilt drive them to seek justice. Their violent quest forces them to confront their own prejudice, the consequences of their pasts, and the meaning of redemption as they tear through a criminal underworld to uncover the truth behind the killings.
Succinct.
So, what are our first impressions?
Ooh, you mixed it up today.
Well, you guys keep bugging me about I do the same one, so yeah.
It sounds like Dennis ain't selling wolf tickets.
So, first impressions?
I love this book.
Yeah.
From the first page, it was like someone lit a fuse, and that fuse didn't go off until the very end. And the very end for me was like 2 days later because I could not put this book down. It was violent. It was shocking. It felt very honest and very real, not very sentimental, although it also touched on some social issues. And, it felt like a Jack Reacher novel that had soul.
I liked it. I liked it more than the last couple of books we read. I didn't love it. I liked the idea of it. I like his writing. He has a really great vocabulary. I love the similes. I love the two main characters. They were my favorite parts. But it felt like reading an action movie. And I feel like if you read the script for any action movie, it would be kind of boring because it's all action. And I don't know, I just had a hard time visualizing a lot of the action. And so I wasn't super, super into it. And then also like action movies, I felt like the narrative, especially with the bad guys, was a little confusing. Like there were just layers of bad guys, like people being hired by other people, being hired by other people. And I mean, it doesn't really matter, but I did get hung up on that a little bit. But overall, I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this book. Not apparently as much as Trevor, because I spent like a week reading it. But it was very entertaining. He's a very solid writer. He used a lot of vernacular, the way the characters were written, and not the kind that gets obnoxious and in the way, just so that you can kind of feel the language as it's being spoken. The characters were very interesting. Mike and Buddy Lee are definitely very interesting characters. I wasn't like, I read some of the reviews where people are like, I love these characters. And it's like, well, also keep in mind that both of them have murdered people before this too. Like they're not the greatest people in that sense, right? But also they were very understandable and relatable despite not being able to relate to what it's like to dispose of a body. The story was interesting. There were a couple of maybe little hiccups in the plot in places where once you know who the villain is, it's like, well, actually this could have been a little different before that, but I found it a satisfying story. I like stories where like sometimes you read books and everyone's like super competent, right? Like you mentioned the Reacher stories, and Jack Reacher's this character who's like smarter than everyone else and seeing things 10 moves ahead, and everyone does things super efficiently, whereas these guys, like, they make lots of mistakes in what they're doing. They've done violent, aggressive things before, so they know what they're doing, but also like they made a bunch of errors in the way they did it, and they
get beat up a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And the criminals were like dangerous, but also sometimes kind of stupid in the way they handled things. Like there was a lot of human frailty and varying levels of competence, which is also very realistic and gritty, right? Like, so yeah, I enjoyed this one a lot. Sometimes it felt, there were parts where, a big element of this was Ike and Buddy Lee coming to terms with their son's sexuality and how they had treated their sons over the course of their lives. And sometimes that got a little kind of weird. Sometimes they'd have these conversations and they were repeating a lot, but I guess that's not unrealistic because people do kind of hash over things a lot when they're trying to process it. Yeah, overall, I thought it was very interesting and a little bit different from similar crime novels I've read before, and really enjoyed it.
All right, it's word nerds for nerd words. Word nerd words for word.
Yeah, that's our episode for today.
I mean, we all had a problem last month with Blood Over Brighthaven and how unsubtle it was. And I mean, talk about an unsubtle book. Like, this verged on preachy at times.
Yeah, it did. It's one of those things, like, I know different places have different cultures and different amounts of cultural baggage. So it's hard to know, like, living in Winnipeg and the circles that I run in and stuff, I haven't seen the level of hatred towards homosexuals and trans people that we see in the book. But I also know from reading the news that there's lots of danger for people on the LGBTQIA spectrum. So it's kind of like a picture inside of one of those areas where it's really intense, one of those cultural spaces. That was like a hard part to read.
Yeah, it felt a little didactic, a little like set up. Like, I'm particularly thinking of that barbershop scene where all these guys are just happening to, I don't know if it's a trailer or they're watching like a drag show and they're commenting on it, and Ike happens to be there, and right. I don't know, it felt a little fake.
Yep. Yeah, I'd say, I mean, a criticism of this book, if I had to come out with one, is it did feel, like you said, very kind of intentional, that the author was almost trying to check a bunch of boxes of issues that he wanted to include. So it takes place in Virginia. So you're already talking about sort of, the South versus the North. And you're talking about black and white relations. You're talking about gender identity, because there's a character, spoiler, Tangerine, who is trans. And talking about relations between fathers and sons, and prejudice against cons and ex-cons. And so it's like, how many more kind of social issues can you put in here into one book? And maybe that it would have to be intentional, because it was just so much to deal with, and it was not subtle. It was not subtle for that part. I didn't worry about that as I was reading it, because I felt the plot was so propulsive that these things were touched upon, and then before you knew it, there was a whole scene with people were in a hail of gunfire, and guys were getting stabbed and punched, and then you're on to the next scene. So I was okay with it.
Well, one of the criticisms I saw in a review was that the person didn't like the book because it was treating gay and trans people as like an instigator of a story, but wasn't really respecting gay and trans people. Like, the characters in the story didn't really have any agency. Like, they're kids that got murdered, they were quite a story because, coming from intolerant families and coming up in poverty, lacking their fathers because they were in jail, being rejected or at least Buddy Lee's wife rejected their son as well. Despite all of that, they managed to build a life and were doing positive things and then were murdered. But it was like they were just bit parts and there wasn't any agency or anything really good for those characters, even though they were putatively a really important part of the story because they were the motivation for Ike and Buddy Lee to rain havoc upon their enemies. So that's a criticism that I can understand. This is the thing. I've read a bunch of crime fiction. I've never really read anything that's tried to delve into something like intersectionality and different levels of or types of oppression and how they interact with each other. So like the social conscience aspect of the book was just unexpected for the type of book, And yeah, at times because of that and trying to navigate like multiple different aspects of it, that part of it is less smooth than the story, but I didn't think it was too heavy-handed. There can be different opinions on that, but I thought he did a pretty good job of that considering the weight of the topic and to still make it a bang-up action story.
And I'm a sucker for stories where there's unlikely heroes and unlikely team-ups. And at the beginning of the book, you wouldn't think that these two guys would either be able to work together or understand each other at all or would want to. And there's a certain sort of gallows humor towards the end where they know they're doomed, but they're still trying to do right by their sons. And a couple of scenes I found like almost moving. Like I'm not saying it brought me to tears, but a couple of scenes that were kind of like, if this was in a movie, and of course I cast Denzel in it, and it had to be Sam Shepard, of course, because there'd be lots of meta stuff saying, you look like Sam Shepard, or as the two leads. And I was like, yeah, I could see these really poignant scenes with these two guys together. And I bought it. Hook, line, and sinker.
Mm-hmm. I feel like Denzel's too clean cut. I need someone more rough.
I don't know. I saw Denzel.
Yeah, you saw Denzel.
But I mean, that's fine.
Jamie Foxx?
Oh, no.
No?
No. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who. I didn't picture anyone specific, but neither of those two.
No, I didn't have a specific picture in my mind. I mean, Denzel's a great actor, so he could take on almost any role, I think.
Speaking of movies, I was thinking like a lot of times this reminded me of If Beale Street Could Talk, which was a book we read last year by James Baldwin. And so I was thinking like if James Baldwin wrote a revenge thriller, it would feel very much like this, I thought.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so, but I don't know. That's what I was thinking.
Okay.
But now we have to think about who would Ike be, if not Denzel and not Jamie.
I don't think we're required to cast the film. Yeah. But it would be quite a movie, I think.
I think it might be in development. I think the rights have been bought, but his other stuff has also.
You were mentioning, Toby, how a lot of this is very unsubtle, like the barbershop scene where it's almost like people are cipher or represent our avatars for different points of view. But there were some subtle things that I quite liked. And one was how, I don't know if you guys picked up on whenever, it didn't happen a lot, which I thought it was good. It was very understated. But whenever Ike would arrive at a place, he would sort of subconsciously judge the lawn a bit. Like he would sort of talk about how it was cut or stuff. And I just love that he ran a gardening business. And it reminded me a little bit in the Colson Whitehead has this Harlem series where the main character in it runs a furniture store. And in those books, whenever he goes into a room, he'll talk about the different furniture, like the type of couch it was and what year it came out, and that model is. And it's done more like for humor, and it's more obvious in the Colson Whitehead books. But a couple of times in this book, I kind of liked how Ike was, that's the thing he notices about whatever the way the yard was kept or something.
I hadn't thought of it, but in retrospect, yeah, that came up a few times. Yeah. Well, this place is the type place where it was very heavily manicured, and
I really like that.
Surely we have more to say.
We must. I enjoyed this book so much. Now I'm just trying to think of what you talk about, though.
You enjoyed it so much
that I thought it would be like just kind of flow talking about.
Right.
Yeah, but sometimes you just like a book and you just like, yeah, I liked it.
Yeah.
Do you think you guys might read other books by S.A. Cosby?
No, it's not my genre or my wheelhouse or whatever, but I'm glad I read this one.
Yeah, I placed one on hold. I can't remember of the list of the ones you read, but there's one about a corrupt minister And that one just came in today, so I'm looking forward to reading that to see how it compares, whether it's the same style. And I feel like maybe if it's as good as Razorblade Tears, then I'll enjoy it.
Oh, I definitely would consider another one of his books because he's a solid writer. And in true crime fiction, or not true crime, in crime fiction, like there's a lot of range in terms of writers.
Yeah.
I just feel like he's really solid. He knows how to write good action.
Mm-hmm. And I think, like I said earlier, like his vocabulary is excellent. Like the way he writes is really good. I pulled out from his bio that he won that specific prize for literary merit in crime fiction because I can see how he did based on this book.
Yeah, he definitely has the chops.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I loved all the little like regional sayings and things that they kept coming up with.
I wanted my word to be hoss this month, but it was very hard to find anything about the origins of that word.
Oh.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Like it seems like traditionally, like if you just look up hoss, it's like a slang term for horse, like someone saying horse, but it sounds more like hoss. But it's like as a term for like a dude. I couldn't find anything about it.
Yeah. Okay.
I appreciated how this book was set in a rural environment. I think often, I mean, I don't read a lot of crime fiction, but the stereotype is that it's urban, these things happen in the mean city streets. So this kind of flips that around.
Yeah. Well, this is apparently what they call Southern Noir.
Yes.
Which tends to be more rural and set in the American South. And I have read other books that would be considered in that genre. And yeah, they do tend to be a little more rural, which, is a nice change of pace. It's good to have different settings, right? Although they did go to Richmond.
They
Right.
did, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, the bulk of it was in a more rural setting.
Were you guys satisfied with how the story played out, with who the ultimate villain was, or were you disappointed how it all kind of, spoilers, kind of tied together nicely?
Well, one of the reviews I read said that they had figured out who the villain was a third of the way through, and I was like,
How?
I didn't. Like, I didn't get it until the end, but it did. Once it was revealed, it made sense why the boys had gotten involved,
Right.
And it's like, oh, that's why he was so ticked off. That's why they wanted to write about this.
I had a hunch, and then I felt like I knew it just on the same page where the initial is revealed. And then because I had a hunch maybe like a page or two before, I wonder if this is how it's going to go. And then it was confirmed right away. I didn't know ahead of time for a long time, but I would have been totally happy if it was unrelated, because a lot of the story is from the perspective of Ike. And he's just going from lead to source to try to find justice. So, the fact that it kind of leads back on itself, I guess, is good story writing. It ties things together. But I also would have been fine if it kind of just went off in another totally unrelated area. But then it wouldn't make so much sense. So, like, why would the boys get involved? And
Yeah, no, I think it tied up neatly that way. So I was satisfied with that as a solution. I think I was satisfied with the conclusion too, including at the end where it's like, since spoilers, Buddy Lee dies in the final confrontation, and they just conveniently blame everything on him. So whether or not it would actually work out that way in real life, I don't know. Yeah. But it kind of wrapped it up neat in book form anyway.
I do like the idea that they introduce Ike as someone who runs a gardening business, and you just know at the end, I mean, you don't really know at the end, but when one of the things you can do with fertilizer is make a giant bomb, it kind of like all makes sense.
There's a lot of things you can do with all that equipment he has.
Yeah.
That tamper?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also like after they, they kidnapped that one guy and they were questioning him, and then he ended up dying because he got loose and they were fighting, and it's like, okay, time to dispose of the body, and both of them are like, sure, know exactly what to do.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh geez, what have you guys done before?
Oh, there's that great line where it's like the first time you dispose of the body, I can't remember, and then the second time, and then like whether the 15th time it's just an inconvenience or something. I can't remember. I'm not quoting it right, but it was a good line.
Yeah, and that's part of what's so gritty about this. Like you're following along with these guys, and they feel relatable. You can kind of understand them on a certain level, but at the same time, they've also done a lot of criminal things, and they've both killed people before. And it's like, so they're really dangerous people, And they're underestimated by like the bikers and everyone else because they just don't realize who they're dealing with. You know, it's one of those things where you're like, the protagonist is like, you don't know who you're messing with. I'm not in here with you. You're stuck in here with me. Like,
Yeah. And Ike had more to lose than Buddy Lee. I felt like, he had his business, successful business, and his wife. And he was the one that initially had to be really goaded into doing it, to the revenge, right? Buddy Lee, his life was a mess before and during the whole book. Like, the fact that...
Yeah. Well, and he was dying of cancer, as we learn. So, he like had nothing to lose.
The classic where somebody has a cough and you're like, oh, I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah. But also, like, were you caught off guard as well by Buddy Lee admitting that he was the one who had defaced the headstones?
I did, because I kept thinking, like, who defaced the headstones? It must have been those bikers, and why would they do that? And I kept kind of thinking, and then when that happened, I was like, oh my God, not only did they close that plot hole, it threw me for sure.
Yeah, because that was one of those things that bugged me a bit. It's like, why would the people who killed them go and deface the headstones afterwards?
Yeah, like there could be cameras, like it would point to exactly who committed the murder. Like it would be a really dumb move.
If it was a hate crime, it's like, you won, you killed these people.
Yeah.
Like why? Like, I mean, like, well, unless you're just crazy and you can't explain crazy.
Yeah, but it's also not a good plot device to just go with, well, it's because they're crazy. But
that's why I thought, okay, is this ever going to loop around and come back? And it did, because this guy knows how to write a book.
Yeah. That closed up nicely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it did throw me off. I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
And like Ike, as a character, he was the most interesting character of the book because he had such a violent past. And then he had that moment where he's like, I can't live like this anymore. I want a different life. And he had the willpower to control his rage, which he had a lot of, and to keep it together and to start a business, which is already a stressful endeavor and takes a lot of willpower and effort. And to do all that for like 15 years without messing it up. So this is a guy with like tremendous willpower. Mm-hmm. And he was even resisting the urge to seek revenge because he's like, but I still got my wife, the kid that we now have to take care of, the business, And it was right up until that moment when the tombstones got defaced and he's like, it was enough to break through.
I mean, he did have that punching bag in his shed.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that made him a really formidable character. Someone who can exercise that kind of restraint despite all of the reasons he would have for doing it differently.
Yeah, and all that sort of repressed rage is released, like the Big Bang, and then there's no stopping him. He can't put it back in the box once it's opened.
So is it happily ever after for him, or is he like going back to his criminal past?
You'd hope that it would now be just looking after his wife and the kid.
Yeah, because there's that visit by the detective or whatever. He's going to be watching you or whatever. So I want to think that he just kind of puts it all down and moves on. That's the ending I want for Ike.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Unless Mr. Cosby decides on a sequel at some point.
Yeah. I mean, there's literally nobody left that could from this particular group of bad guys, except for, I guess, Gatsby, the dad. Remember him?
Oh,
the one who was kidnapped.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
no,
or he dies too.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he got them all.
Oh, he got them all. Yeah, that's right, because he was in the car.
Yeah. No,
that's right. They're all gone.
Yeah, no, it would be an entirely separate case,
right?
If they did a sequel.
Yeah, but I can't think of anything that would drive him to the rage, unless like his wife is killed, or maybe his granddaughter. Or something.
That kid is going to have a whole bunch of trauma. So you could give her own book in like 20 years when
true.
she's grown up and needs to process that trauma.
Yeah.
Even at the end there, they kind of wrapped it up too with saying that one associate of his hadn't been seen in several weeks or months or whatever it was. The guy who betrayed them at a key point.
Oh, right. The one guy that was attached to the barber shop or whatever. Was that the guy who disappeared? Or no,
his former associate who...
Right.
Yeah, who arranged that meeting with, what was his name?
Oh,
Mr.
Yeah, the DJ?
The music guy.
Music guy, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. He hasn't been seen in a while.
Yeah, he hasn't been seen in a few weeks, you know. And it's like, oh, yeah, okay, so Ike did something after the final confrontation, too.
Yeah. Just like the last book we read, it's kind of sequel proof. Unless, of course, like you say, they take it to the next generation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of like it when they're one-offs rather than a series sometimes, too. I mean, as much as I enjoy mystery series, you know, a good standalone is a good thing.
Yeah. Like this is definitely a good introduction to his type of books, I would think. Like if you're only going to read one of his, this is me saying this without having read anything else by him, but I felt like it was a good pick.
Thank you.
What was that? Blacktop?
Blacktop Wasteland?
Blacktop Wasteland apparently is considered his best book. So, yeah. I don't know. I'm curious to read that one. I might get to that.
Well, you'll have to let me know if you do. What I was a little confused about, and I guess it doesn't really matter, is that Ike and Buddy Lee get beat up like in one of the first confrontations they have, and then continue to get beat up as it goes. And yet, like, they're still, like, they're going to the gay bar, they're going to the barber shop, like, they're walking around like they don't have these terrible injuries.
Yeah, I think that is something that is very common in the action genre in general.
But, like, the level of violence, like, they would have, like, black eyes and split lips and broken ribs, like, yeah.
Because they're action heroes.
But they're not. They're two regular dudes.
Yeah, but they're two regular dudes in an action book. Yeah. It's like, did you see the movie Nobody?
Yeah.
There's no way you go through those beatings and still keep walking the next day, right?
Yeah, they should have been in the hospital every time.
Any Arnold Schwarzenegger movie or Stallone movie or anything like that, no one can do all of that.
Yeah, like you're suggesting that, like, when they go to the gay bar, the first thing the bartender should say is, "Oh my God, what's wrong with your face?"
Yeah, exactly.
Or whatever, right?
Yeah.
You know, do you need a towel or whatever? You know, and that didn't happen a whole lot, or ever, I would think.
Yeah. Like no one acknowledges their injuries ever.
Right.
Yeah.
I chalked it up to the fact that they were just on full adrenaline the entire length of the novel, and that they didn't feel anything because they were in the zone.
They were also drunk a lot.
Yes.
Very true.
Yeah. Which I don't know helps in that situation, but
can't hurt.
Yeah. But I attribute that mainly to one of the genre stereotypes that's fairly common. You know, it's like with romance books, there's things that in real life that would be sexual assault or, stalking or something like that. But in the book, it's fine.
Okay.
You know, and here you just have better endurance and injury recovery.
Okay.
Somehow,
Just
even though they're
sleep it
middle-aged.
off.
They did talk a lot about how you're too old for this stuff.
And I mean, his wife is a nurse, and that does come into play at some point, but not very early.
No, he didn't get nearly enough medical attention to deal with everything.
Also, in the States, they probably don't think of going to the hospital as a first stop for things.
Well, they didn't want to go because you'd have to explain bullet holes and things. The stereotype for that in this type of book or movie would be to break into a veterinary clinic and get your medicine from there.
Yes.
Or have like a Dr. Nick Riviera in a panel truck outside that could like shoot you up with stuff.
Yeah.
Or they would stitch each other up.
Yeah.
Do we have more to talk about, or do we feel like just kind of it's a good book worth reading?
Just as an aside, I was going to say the copy that I got to read happened to be a mass market paperback copy, which you don't see very often anymore. They're not sort of the type of formats that we get the same way. If we're going to get a paperback at all in the library, it'll probably be a trade paperback. So it was kind of fun reading it because it did feel like I was reading like a pulp book. It looked like it had been very well read, so it was creased and the cover was kind of almost coming off. So I thought, yeah, this is the type of format that I should be reading this book in. It kind of added to the pleasure.
Yeah.
Good,
enjoyed good enough?
Good, not great. Good enough.
Good, not great?
Better than Blood Over Brighthaven. Better than Night Watchman.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay. You're that better than the Pulitzer winner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I really enjoyed this book. If you like action books, crime novels, Southern noir particularly, but just any kind of action-y, crimey type thing, very worthwhile.
Yeah, absolutely. Like this book is not for everyone, for sure. You have to be kind of careful who you recommend it to, but exactly like you say, like if you like a good action revenge story that has a little more to it than the average one, 100%.
Okay.
A lot of violence.
Oh, yeah. Tons of violence.
of
If you're not
violence.
looking for violence, because some of the reviews I read, people stopped reading because of the level of violence.
Sure,
and
that's
the
fair.
cussing, and
Yeah.
it's like, you have to be in the mood for that type of thing. Okay, so with that, let's go on to, can you tell me a book I would also like? Who would
I'm
like
worried
to recommend?
I've recommended this book before because I've recommended it to a lot of people, but I don't think I've recommended it on this podcast. It's the book James by Percival Everett. Does
Nope.
that ring any bells?
I don't think so.
Okay. So James won a lot of awards. It was highly lauded. It did win the Pulitzer. It also won the National Book Award. And it's a retelling of Huckleberry Finn from the slave Jim's perspective. So Jim overhears that he's about to be sold and moved away from his family. So he escapes and travels down the Mississippi River towards freedom. And of course, like Razorblade Tears, there's a lot about racism in this book, but it's just like, it's a really good read. You know, it's like a highfalutin literary book, but it's funny. It's really quick to get into. It's really compelling. Funny, tender, profound. I haven't personally read Huckleberry Finn, but I think if I had, it would have added a whole other level of enjoyment onto it. Yeah, just a great A+ book.
We read Huckleberry Finn in grade 11 high school.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah, I'm definitely interested in that. So does Huckleberry Finn, the character, appear?
Yes. Yeah, because as I understand in Huckleberry Finn, like Jim and Huck travel together, right?
They do, yeah.
Yeah, so they do. It's like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
Okay, yeah.
It's what that is to Hamlet, you know?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, the book I picked is actually a book series by Dennis Lehane. You might know Dennis Lehane from some one-off books that have been made into movies. Like, for example, Mystic River was made into a movie by Clint Eastwood, and Shutter Island was made into a movie by Martin Scorsese. But the series I wanted to mention has two characters, Kenzie and Gennaro. And this was a series that he wrote before he kind of got into the more kind of serious books. Dennis Lehane has a bit of a background. Before he got into writing thrillers, he was a social worker, so he saw a lot of bad stuff in Boston, and so he draws from his own experience. So these books are a modern take of the private detective novel. So Patrick Kenzie and Angie Gennaro are high school friends, and there's a bit of this sort of, love, sexual tension between the two of them. They never got together, but Patrick is kind of attracted to Angie Gennaro, but she's married to a guy who's kind of abusive. And the two of them run a detective agency. Again, like it's the types, the quality and the style of writing reminded me very much of Razorblade Tears, in that the books just move. Like it's like gasoline that's been set on fire, and they're fun and maybe a bit extreme. There's 6 in the series. The first one's called A Drink Before the War. You don't have to read them in order, but it helps because there are things that happen in one book that carry over into the next one. The most famous one from this series was probably Gone Baby Gone, which was made into a movie a while back. So that's my recommendation, the Kenzie and Gennaro series by Dennis Lehane.
I love Dennis Lehane. Also, if you're wondering about his chops, he also wrote many episodes of The Wire.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so he's a really good writer.
Yeah.
I ended up with 2 recommendations, depending on which aspect of this book you liked more. So if you're into revenge, I'm recommending a movie, specifically Old Boy, and specifically the 2003 South Korean original movie version of Old Boy. It often gets mentioned as possibly the greatest revenge movie of all time. It's based on a manga of the same name, and there was a remake in 2013 that starred Josh Brolin, Elizabeth Olsen, and Samuel L. Jackson. It was directed by Spike Lee, but the original was directed by Chan-wook Park. I've only seen the original movie. I haven't seen the other versions of it. But basically, Dae-soo is an obnoxious drunk bailed out from the police station yet again by a friend. However, he's abducted from the street and wakes up in a cell where he remains for the next 15 years, drugged unconscious when human contact is unavoidable, and otherwise only the television as company. And then suddenly released, he is invited to track down his jailer with a denouement that is simply stunning. This movie features a hallway fight scene that was almost certainly the inspiration for the one in the Daredevil Season 1 streaming series. Plot twists are genuinely surprising, and the plot is intense with lots of action. And the ending really is a mind twister. You're not likely to see it coming unless you've gotten spoilers in advance.
Is it scary?
Violent.
It's violent.
Graphic.
Okay.
And you don't know what's going on all the time, like why certain things have happened, until the end where you understand why everything has happened.
Okay.
So I wouldn't, it's not like a horror thing. It's just straight out revenge and violence. Yeah. So if you like that, then try Old Boy.
I was going to mention that in 2003, a friend of mine who was really big into like movies and world cinema found out that this Old Boy was playing at the U of M, and it was like almost like a Korean Students Association event. So he's like, "Do you want to go see it?" I didn't know anything about it, but I'm like, "Sure." So we went. But what we didn't realize was that before the movie played, they were replaying the quarterfinal match from the 1990 World Cup, because I guess Korea was in it. So we had to sit through an entire soccer game, and then we watched the movie. But yeah, incredible. I still think of that movie. So that's a great pick.
Yeah. It's quite something. And if you like the Southern noir thing, I'm going to recommend an author I've recommended before, James Lee Burke. And I'll specifically recommend In the Electric Mist with the Confederate Dead. James Lee Burke has written a whole series with the character Dave Robichaux, who started out as an alcoholic, corrupt cop who later gets kicked off the force. Then he works as a private investigator. By this novel, he stopped drinking again and is working as a cop again. It's very gritty, lots of corruption and morally gray decision-making, interesting character. James Lee Burke and the character Dave Robichaux are white, and so the racial aspects when they come up in there are from a particular perspective. And a lot of these were, I think, in the 90s and stuff. So, the take on that will vary a bit. There is a 2009 movie version which stars Tommy Lee Jones and John Goodman called just In the Electric Mist. That's pretty good. Anyways, those are my recommendations.
I thought one of you might recommend Hell of a Book.
Oh, yeah.
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 So I didn't.
Well, he didn't kill anybody in that.
No, he didn't.
Yeah. See, people die in both of the things I recommended, so. Does anyone die in James?
I think so.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like for revenge reasons?
No.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I was focusing on those aspects of
Fair
it.
enough. Okay.
And now for our not quite award-winning yet still pretty cool segment, Nerd Words for Word Nerds, in which we give each other little lexical gifts. So who would like to share their gift?
That was a lovely way of saying it. I think I should go first because I think you two are going to need to play off
it's
each
okay.
other.
Yeah. It's okay. Yeah, go.
Okay. Do you want to go?
No, I mean, I think it makes sense if you go, and then
Okay.
maybe I go, and then
Well, Dennis always goes last.
that's
so,
how I was going to say anyway.
yeah.
So yeah, well, it depends if you want, because I have a feeling that there's going to be
Watch her have yours.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay, I'm just going to go. This book has a lot of good words to choose from, a lot of good sayings. I did kind of want to use the term flying buttresses, just because it's kind of funny.
that sounds like butt.
Yeah, it's a funny word, but it's a
'Cause we're
boring,
sophisticated.
it's a pretty boring word. So I did not choose flying buttresses, as fun as it is to say. The word that I chose comes from the book, and it's hirsuteness, which is from a scene where the biker dudes come to Ike's shop. And the sentence is, 5 men in leather vests and various degrees of hirsuteness were standing in the lobby. And hirsuteness is just a formal word for hairy. Often used in a comedic sense. The word hirsute entered English in the early 17th century with nearly the same spelling and exactly the same meaning as its Latin parent hirsutus, which is also where the word horror comes from. And I feel like I'm going to remember the definition of hirsute forever now because it kind of sounds like hair suit. So that's a good way to remember it. Not to be confused with hair shirt, which is something entirely different. But there you go, hirsute.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, to nobody's surprise, my nerd word this month is selling wolf tickets. And this term, which we've already talked about, comes from the book and was a term I hadn't heard before. It originated, as far as people can tell, as part of the African American vernacular, which means to oversell yourself or to boast about something that you're not willing to follow up. So it's like if you're selling wolf tickets, you're writing a check that your body can't cash or whatever, those kind of sayings. So if you say I'm not selling wolf tickets, you mean that I'm not messing around. I'm not just making threats. I'm going to follow through. And it's kind of interesting because it's wolf tickets, but in fact, woof tickets, WOOF, is probably the original term, but a bunch of sort of white sociologists were studying black culture in the 1960s and in Chicago particularly. And so it got translated from woof to wolf, but it's actually pronounced woof if you are pronouncing it correctly. And another spelling of it, which is interesting, is it's WUF, woof. And there was a short-lived hip hop band in the early 80s called Wolf Ticket. And 2 of their songs are on Spotify. And there's lots of synth. Yeah, and so woof, W-O-O-F, is to talk much and loudly and to say little consequence. I found it really good, and maybe you found this too, Dennis, a blog called From the Grammar Phobia. Yeah. And so that
was a good one.
Yeah. So I that's where a lot of my information came from. So yeah, I think that the only other thing I'll say about it is that there's a separate idea of a wolf ticket that comes from Russia that's totally unrelated to American culture. And it was a phrase used in Russia to denote a document that did not have maybe the full force, so like a passport that had restrictions. It was called a wolf ticket or a wolf certificate. Or if you had a diploma from a school, but it didn't say you fully graduated, you just completed the courses without exams, that it was kind of something less than the real thing. So, but apparently that's just its own thing and not related to.
I wonder if that's what Ike was really saying. I'm not selling any degrees that show that I almost passed.
Maybe we got this book wrong all along.
Yeah.
I have no memory of that from this book. Did it happen
Wolf
early
tickets?
on? Yeah.
It happened exactly twice.
It did twice. Wow.
When the bikers came into the landscaping shop the first time.
Yeah, that's where my quote is from.
And Ike put the machete there, and Grayson was kind of challenging him, and Ike told him, well, I don't sell no wolf tickets. And then later when they were talking on the phone and Grayson was saying, you're not going to do this. And Ike said, no, I don't sell no wolf tickets. Like he said again, I told you, I don't sell no wolf tickets. Anyways, I just love the turn of phrase because it was so lovely. And apparently the woof was like akin to a barking guard dog, you know, and barks, more bark than bite.
More bark than bite. Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the words I selected, but I thought it was probably one that someone might pick up. So I had another word too. So near the end of the book, when Buddy Lee and Ike are talking about whether they might see their boys in the afterlife, Buddy Lee says, man, the only thing that kept me holding on to any of that shit my pastor used to scream about while he was juggling them old copperheads they kept in the back of the church is the notion I might see my boy again. So with that short phrase, we learn that Buddy Lee's family attended a snake handling church. So snake handlers is my word.
Wow, that was quite the leap.
Yeah.
What?
Just going from that phrase to snake handlers.
Well, yeah, but that's what I loved about his writing, or one of the things I love about his writing is he has a lot of things that he just tosses in passing, but they have this deep roots to them. So snake handling, or serpent handling, is a religious practice in a small number of isolated Christian churches, mostly in the U.S., which started in Appalachia in the early 1900s. Churches that do this are usually Pentecostal or part of the holiness movement. It takes its inspiration from a couple of Bible verses. Luke 10:19, behold, I give you the power to tread on serpents and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. And Mark 16, verses 17 to 18, and these signs shall follow them that believe. In my name shall they cast out devils, they shall speak with new tongues, they shall take up serpents, and if they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. They shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall recover. These churches, during their services, worshipers will be encouraged to lay hands on the sick, speak in tongues, provide testimony of miracles, and sometimes they drink strychnine. They also are encouraged to approach the front and pick up some of the snakes they have and raise them into the air, sometimes allowing the snakes to slither on their bodies. You're not required to do this, but it is an option.
I don't even like garter snakes.
Yeah. So
you're not going to take any of these back to your church?
Yeah.
Hey guys, I just heard about this great thing. We haven't tried it yet.
Yeah, you'd figure maybe these guys hadn't read Deuteronomy 6:16, which says, "Do not test the Lord your God." And in fact, a number of people do die semi-regularly from snake handling because, poisonous snakes.
Jeez.
And strychnine.
What was the rationale for drinking strychnine? Just
because it says
Poison,
in Mark
drinking
16,
poison.
17, and 18, yeah.
Oh.
They can drink any deadly thing and it shall not hurt them.
Dang.
Any deadly thing.
Turns out that's not entirely correct. Although individual incidents may actually be understood in a variety of ways, those who die from snake bites are not criticized for the lack of adequate faith. It is just believed that it was simply their time to die. So bitten believers,
That's nice.
Yeah, bitten believers do not usually seek medical help, but look to God for their healing. So anyway, yeah, all of that and more comes with that simple phrase at the end of the book there. So snake handlers.
Good for them, not for me.
Yeah. It's also a very small movement. There's I forget when I was reading about it, there might be like 50 or 60 churches that do this, and they're all rather small. Virginia is one of the places
They get
where
smaller each month.
well, it's been around since like 1910. They are far from the peak of their movement, and there have been attempts at various times to make it illegal, and then also challenges based on religious freedom, and
I wonder if you could like defang a snake.
You can.
I mean, I know you can, but I mean, I wonder if say the church did.
That takes the fun out of it.
It takes the fun out of it, but
Well, it takes the whole purpose out of it. The whole point is that you're supposed to.
Right,
The whole inspiration for the people who do this
is the faith
that
you're going to be okay.
The danger.
yeah, I have faith. I can hold a snake. I am safe.
Right.
So this is the power of my faith.
I
And
wonder
when-
why snakes? Like,
and
why
when-
not spiders? Or
Because
Yeah,
there's
like-
a Bible verse.
oh, right, yeah, of course.
But I mean, what if you could do it with scorpions or something? I guess scorpions don't kill you.
They can.
Can they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
They're pretty venomous.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, whenever you have a question about why, it's in the Bible.
But you would think though, like if someone was bit by a snake and died in front of you at this church, you might think, you know what, maybe I'll go to the church across the street that doesn't have snakes.
Oh, maybe some people do. But
Enough
again,
people stay around. Yeah.
it's a complicated
It's
psychology.
it's a thing that's it's out there, and isn't it wonderful? We live in such a diverse world where all
Exactly.
manner of things are happening at the same time.
Indeed. And unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this month. Thank you so much for joining us, dear readers. For our next episode, we're going to read and discuss Small Ceremonies by Kyle Edwards. Tomahawk Shields, a.k.a. Tommy, and Clinton Whiteway are on the cusp of adulthood, imagining a future rife with possibilities and greatness. The two friends play for their high school's poor-performing hockey team, the Tigers, who learn at the start of the new season that the league wants them out. Their annual goal is now more important than to win their first game in years and break the curse. As we follow these two Indigenous boys over the course of a year, we are given a panoptic view of Tommy and Clinton's Winnipeg, where a university student with grand ambitions chooses to bottle her anger when confronted with numerous micro and not-so-micro aggressions. An ex-convict must choose between protecting or exploiting his younger brother as he's dragged deeper into the city's criminal underbelly. A lonely rig attendant is haunted by the memory of a past lover and contemplates rekindling this old flame, and an aspiring journalist does everything she can to uncover why the League is threatening to remove the Tigers. These are a sampling of the chorus of voices that depict a community filled with individuals seeking for purpose, leading them all to one fateful and tragic night. Ferociously piercing the heart of an Indigenous city, Kyle Edwards' sparkling debut is a heartbreaking yet humor-flecked portrayal of navigating identity in place, trauma and recovery, and growing up in a land that doesn't love you. Have comments or book suggestions for us? Send us an email. You can find all our contact info at the bottom of the page at wpl-podcast.winnipeg.ca. You can also find all our past episodes there too. If you haven't already, subscribe to Time to Read on your favorite podcasting service. Maybe leave us a review. Tell your book-loving friends about us too. And until next time, make sure you find Time to Read.
All I need is time to read. All I need is time to read. All I need is time to read. All I ever really need is a little more time to read.
That book also just won the Governor General's Award.
Oh, yeah?
Amazing.
Yeah.
And we picked it because it was our Dublin
Yes.
submission, right? That's why,
Yes.
yeah.
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 Also, Winnipeg-centric.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Indigenous-centric.
Yep. Ticks
It
all the
should-
boxes.
Yeah, it should be...
It's a real S.A. Cosby.
well, we'll see. It's always interesting reading a book set in a place you are.
Yeah. No, I was saying, like, it's nice to read, fun to read books that take place in your city, unless you're reading a Miriam Toews book, because then you'll just be crying the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she could do that no matter where it's set.
That's
It's
true.
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I'm still not over that All My Puny Sorrows.
That was a hammer of a book.